Well, hello my friends, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the East Lake Animal Education Centre. In this episode we are building the final habitat in the barnyard area, and we're building for the Alpine Goat, and it's going to be a walkthrough habitat. Nothing extravagant, nothing massive, but it's nice. I like how it looks. So here I'm attempting to build the first walk-through gate, and then we go ahead and add these little walls to it. It's actually been a while since I've recorded this episode, and I've got round to recording the voiceover. I sort of did the alpaca and llama episode, and then I did this one straight after it. Stopped to record the voiceover for the alpaca and llama episode, continued recording this, edited this, started recording the next episode, edited that, and started recording the episode after that. And then I was like, right, so at the weekend I have to record the voiceover for the goat walkthrough, otherwise I'm going to get too far ahead and I'm going to have a massive backlog of episodes to publish. So I wanted something very sort of rustic for the goat walkthrough gates, and ultimately this design that I try here doesn't really work, so we do have to go for grid pieces. It still looks alright in the end, to be honest, but it's not quite the look I had in mind. I suppose I could have gone for stained wood. It's just in a different direction, I think. But yeah, there was just no way to make that work without like using thousands of different pieces, and I couldn't be bothered with the Z fighting and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just looking through different pieces here, and we go for the Arctic wood. And that's what we end up sticking with. I just moved those wooden beams that support it. I moved them forward, I think, so it still looks framed. And then here we're just adding a trim to the wall. So I'm really happy overall with how the barnyard has turned out. And the next few episodes of East Lake, it's a really big build. Probably the biggest build in the zoo, like ever. So yeah, why I've decided to take it on so early, other than the location, no real reason for it. But you'll see what that is in the coming episodes. But we're going to do that one in sort of parts, so we'll do so many episodes of East Lake focusing on the big build, and then we'll do so many episodes of Dunswell Zoo on various big builds. I haven't been back in Dunswell Zoo for a long time. It's been nearly 2 months, I think, since I've been in Dunswell Zoo, so it's about time I returned, I think. So yeah, I'm just hiding that metal beam thing in the middle there and making it look like wood. Sink that in, line it up with the gates as best as possible. It was a very finicky job, as you can see. It was very sensitive, very the slightest little nudge in the wrong direction and had to start again. This one wasn't too bad because I didn't already have the gates in, so I could make the gates fit the build rather than the build fit the gates. Yeah, just moving it into position there. And then just checking what it looks like. So I have to remove that section there because it pokes, the gate pokes through it, and I don't like how it looks. So I moved that little section of wall, and there's a little bit at the bottom, but I ignore that. And then that one's completely fine. So then putting the first of 2 fences in. So there's going to be this rustic wall fence again. And then we go for a much simpler design for the interior fence, which is what you're going to see me build now. Essentially just mesh, a bit of concrete and a wooden beam. I can't remember exactly the name of the beam that I used. Yeah, just sink the concrete in. If you can hear birds squawking in the background, there's a family of starlings that are in my garden at the moment. And there's juveniles with them, and they're sort of screaming to be fed by their parents. And I can just hear it. It's so loud. So I apologise if you can hear that. But yeah, we go ahead and put our interior fence in. And that's just going to stop the goats from jumping out, essentially. Which I should have done with the chickens in all honesty looking back, but I like the low fence for the chicken habitat. Whereas the low fence for the goat habitat, you know, fair enough, but they could jump out. I've been to some places that do have these higher fences, and I've also been to some places that have the lower fences as well. Both with mixed levels of success. So we're now building the sort of shelter, if you like, for the goats. I ended up calling it the goat garage, and that's just because I like alliteration for the barnyard area. You know, we've got the pig pen, the sheep shack, the cattle cottage, the alpaca abode, the llama lodge, and I needed something that goes with G for goat. So I went for garage. It's not really a garage, is it? But there we go. But yeah, I just move that back as far as I'm sort of happy with. And then we go ahead and put a roof on it. So the roof for this building was actually inspired by a little farm building that I saw on my way to Chester Zoo when I went on one of my 2 trips this year. And I saw this little building in a field at the side of the road. I was like, oh my god, that looked great in Planet Zoo. So I found the location on Google Maps after I'd returned and took a screenshot, and I based the sort of roof of this building on that. It's probably nothing special. You've probably all seen buildings like it 1,000 times, but I just really liked it. I've not seen it before, so I really liked it. And it's turned out wonderfully, actually, the goat garage. And unlike the alpaca, Highland cattle, hill redden sheep and the donkey habitats, I've played back into that farm sort of barnyard aesthetic here with the red colouring of the goat garage. That typical sort of red and white combination for, but more often than not, it's sort of European, American sort of barnyards, like barns and things like that. So we're actually using some blueprints here from somebody else. I've completely forgot your name, whoever created them, so thank you. I will put the link in the description for where to find these, but they were specifically created for the Barnyard Animal Pack. It's sort of like Barnyard Essentials, something like that. And I've just gone for the ones that realistically you could see goats using, so there's a lot of sort of climbing and ramps and jumping opportunities and things like that, because goats are quite destructive animals, so you need to keep them busy and occupied to avoid things being destroyed. Things like rubber tires and logs for them to rub up against, that's definitely the sort of thing that you need in a goat habitat. And then I go ahead and build my own here, my own little platform. It turns out okay. It's not fantastic, but it's not terrible. So I start with this top piece which sets the grid. And then from there, I just put a couple more panels in at varying heights. And the goats can use these, which I'm really pleased with. I've built a little ramp just because it's a bit high for the baby goats. I've put a ramp in for that one, and then the other two, it's just jumping. So I try different panels, and I eventually go for the tropical pack panel, whatever it's called. That one. I don't know the names of all the pieces. Yeah, it's nice to sort of finish an area in the East Lake Animal Education Centre. The next couple of episodes are a bit messy, and there's one in particular that I don't like very much. And the next episode is sort of planning and moving, so we put some plans in place for the next sort of build and where things are going to move to, stuff like that. And we move some animals into other habitats. And the episode after that is the first sort of proper construction on the big build, and it's a bit messy. I'm not a massive fan of it, to be honest, but there was a lot of work that went into it, so I'm still going to publish the video. But yeah, I won't be offended if not many people watch that one, because given the choice, I wouldn't watch it either. Putting the enrichment in for the animals here, for the goats. So we've got various different like feeders and toys and things like that. Again, the scarecrow. I'd never usually use this. I think it's very sort of, I'm going to call it tacky sort of enrichment. You know, it's overly themed. It's a bit like the pumpkin ball that we got in one of the, I think it was the Twilight pack. It's just a bit too themed, but it does fit, you know, with the sort of barnyard aesthetic. A scarecrow would be in a field, sort of scaring away the birds from the crops, so it'd be funny to see a goat eat a scarecrow. So here I'm putting the guest fence in, which is made of driftwood pieces and some little beams from the base game. And these just go either side of the path, and there are areas where there are gaps for the goats to cross between the two areas, so it's not completely separated. But yeah, it just goes either side of the path. It's just a nice little barrier to sort of keep guests from wandering off. I didn't use the new mechanic, gameplay mechanic in this one of the hand cleaning stations, which would allow guests to leave the path and interact with the goats. It's not something I'm a massive fan of, just because most of the places that I've been to in the walkthrough habitats, you're advised not to leave the paths and not to touch the animals and things like that, so I really wanted to be in keeping with that. And here we're now just adding this back fence, which sort of separates the barnyard area from the eventual train tracks for the train ride that's going to take you around the education centre. So now here we're working on a secondary entrance and exit to the barnyard area. Obviously the main entrance is behind the main entrance, so you walk through the main entrance to the education centre, and then sort of smack bang in front of you is the entrance to the barnyard area. But this is obviously further into the education centre, It's nearer to the train tracks. It's at the back of the barnyard area. So something a little less fancy. Something a little more... what's the word I'm looking for? A little more... unassuming. So it's one of those things where you sort of look at it and think, oh, what's that? And then you'd look at the sign at the top and it'd say the barnyard, and oh, there's a barnyard in here, and then you'd go in there and things like that. So yeah, that's what I've gone for. And you can just sort of see me adjusting the grid size here. Obviously this wouldn't be possible without the free build mod. It's one of the few mods that I am using in this series. Remaster mods I use, and the free build mod I use. I also have the path mod at the minute, but besides using it as a placeholder, I haven't actually used it for any of the paths. So I just sort of use it to sort of say, oh, a path will go here, I'll just use this path until I decide the final thing. And then again, just putting the trim down on this one. So it's very similar to the Goat walkthrough, with the trim and the wall and the colours and things like that. It's just a bit wider, it's a bit more rustic looking. It's got a bit of a sort of Saxon vibe to it, I think. But just putting the trim in, and then I've got to get the smaller one and put it in, and then rotate it the other way around so there's no Z-fighting. Z-fighting is honestly the bane of my existence. The amount of builds where I just spend time battling Z-fighting is just ridiculous. And then again, put this higher sort of fence thing in. And make sure it's as middle fiddle as possible. Stop that Z-fighting. I'm happy with that. And then we'll just duplicate it and move it along. Right, the cinematics then. So we have the finished barnyard area. Thank you for watching so far, my friends. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and helps the channel grow. That can only be a good thing. And you can find me on Instagram at JW_YT. And if you want to see my real world escapades when I attend zoos and wildlife parks, follow my Instagram at JW_wildlife photography. Until the next time, my friends, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay kind, be kind, enjoy the rest of the cinematics, and I shall see you all next time where we're going to be planning and moving. Until then, my friends, bye bye for now.